Welcome back, Fortnite fam. Game number 2 goes to Peterbot and Poyel. My script, it's written well sometimes. But what's crazy, friends, is you would think after a victory royale in the fashion that they pulled it off, Peterbot and Poyel would be in first place, right? Wrong. Let's actually go to the standings. Curve and Kanata are currently in first place. Now, before we continue, super small note there. I know you see that little crown there, the victory royale crown by Peterbot and Poyel. That means that if they're in the top 2, we're going to move the position down 1. So right now we're looking, if everything stopped, being top 3 enough to move on to EWC. Going back to Kanata and Curve, I cannot believe this, guys. Like, to see them currently in first place, especially after how chaotic that last game was, I'm feeling good. I'm vibing with Kanata and Curve right now, okay?
Zeke, you say you can't believe it, but I think the rest of us knew it, that Kanata and Curve, they had it in them. And regardless of what happened last night, we can see that the vibes are definitely still there for Kanata and Curve, especially after having great back-to-back games, Blake. I can only imagine that this is going to kind of snowball them into even more success.
Yeah, for a second there, I really thought we were going to see the back-to-back wins. And I just want to highlight that elimination onto Bugha, because most players, when your back is turned and you're 1 HP and Bugha hops in your box, you're most likely going to get eliminated. But Kanata turns around, one pumps him, and holds the high ground to secure that 3rd place and continue to stay in first.
Yeah, man, Bugha's impressed me, right? Him and King coming out, we've seen him 2 games now try and fight for that high ground. I'm loving it, right? Like, I want to see more Bugha prominence, rise up King, you know, like, this is what I like to see, Kelly. I'm vibing.
It's so textbook. While everyone else seems to be fighting and struggling and proving themselves, I swear Bugha's just loading into like a random match, and this is just him playing normal Fortnite. He just plays it so cleanly, and to have this kind of like newer-ish player of Kingaling joining him, I mean, you know, a lot of people are kind of questioning of this duo, and they're really proving themselves right now.
100%. And also Jason Jargu, I think that's a surprise for most people to see them in the top 3, because they're a little bit under the radar, but they're playing super consistent, and let's see if they can keep it up, Zeke.
Dude, it's super volatile, right? We have no idea how this is going to go. Now, we're being told we are going to go to a break. When we return, we'll have more action from the reloaded. Oh, I'm sorry, the casters is what I meant to say. Over to you, casters.
Hey, it might be a break for you, Zeke, but me and Monster definitely have our hands full with the slow play in Game 1 to how chaotic Game 2 is. I'm ready and buckled up for the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Game 1, Game 2, looking like a grand finals lobby. Like, these guys are playing so well. The action, I mean, let us know. It's been really good. I do say so myself, and we're having front row seats here. I feel like I'm going to lose my voice at this pace, but we'll see, as Game 3 sounds like it's just around the corner.
We're already in the 3rd one. This is the 2nd one before the halfway point. I always talk about the halfway point because if you want to qualify for EWC, it truly plays a role in how you have to play to close out the day. But a contested fight we didn't see the beginning of in the last couple games. Agers and Ritual over here at Stilt Town on this side of the map versus Doldzere and Ishu. This was one of those teams, when you look at a drop map, they tried to switch up their spot. They tried to pull one over on Agers and Ritual. It didn't work. They're still contested. There's one less team over here, but that just means there's more focus on one now.
Yeah, you have to stay dynamic. I mean, I couldn't agree more, right? When you have Agers, Ritual, I mean, playing as well as they have as well, I like that Escher and Dozer are committing to it, but yeah, they got to loosen up, kind of put themselves on the opposite side so they're not the first to get attacked by Peterbot. I like the repositioning there. It seems like a little micro play at action there, but let's look at Dragon here, right? Dragon has now committed to landing on Acorn and Boats. This time, they are much more prepared. Notice how things are kind of happening differently here. Bolts is ready for the fight. He finds the first elimination, and now I seem like this is looking good for Acorn and crew.
Oh, wait. Oh, it was looking good in that moment. And 2 seconds later, a whole nother team flies in. Oh, that's just something you don't want to see if you're a fan of Acorn and Bolts, and that 1-point differential for qualifier 1. A whole different story this time around. Noxie Mason, they still have that contested fight. They got that 1 elimination, but Mason went down as well, and they're trying to push on to Noxie. He's the one with a good portion of that loot, but it's not even the team that we're fighting. This is Higgs, a whole nother battler here, ready to go ahead and at least try to steal this elimination. They were so close in qualifier 1. If they could have just got a couple of more in the early game, maybe stretch their end games a little bit longer, it would have worked out. But Higgs running out of builds here puts him in just this weird situation. You know he's going to continue to play aggressive, but how aggressive is he going to play?
Look at that, and with no bills left either. So the aggression paying off there. Clearly, he had one play, and that play was get in the box and find that Elam ASAP, and it worked out for him. Uh-oh, looking at Vert and Taki. I mean, this is the original trio we expect to be contesting here. Seems like, you know, they were kind of hanging out in the early 2 rounds, but this time they put a little bit more pressure on things here, and they find 2 eliminations. So Ager's Ritual having a bit more of a hard time now as they find themselves kind of in the middle of the sandwich, right? They're kind of squished between the teams here.
Yeah, and if you kind of really think back of how they were kind of playing last game, it was Peterbot interrupting their contested fight. He was able to get both eliminations, which cleared a lot of space. So already things playing out a little bit differently than this side of the map. Had hope coming into this point, and it's Vert and Taki, man. You got to give them credit. Instead of just fighting that senseless triple contested fight, they go for a less loot spot, but it works out for them because they are uncontested now. Kanata and Curve, they're going to go ahead and get their hands on that grenade launcher. 7 rockets inside, so he has to be very, very careful about how he uses this as he tries to lurk onto a fight. Ritual, Peterbot, Poyo, all in that direction, but Ritual going down without getting a trade means he has no hope of fighting this 2v1.
Listen, I think what Curve did there was just a smart play. He sees the feed, he sees the eliminations. You definitely know this is Peterbot and Poyo's drop spot. And why throw away your positioning here, right? You really don't want to give away the lead, especially here and now. So Peterbot, Poyo don't really recognize how much danger was nearby. They kind of have an idea there might have been a team there, and you see they were looking, but nothing reveals itself just yet. Jumping on over to Muzz and Sphinx, though. Tested drop like we talked about, but this time seems to be nice sunny, clear skies at the Dirty Docks. No one pressuring them just yet. No elims. They're just looking to cap off their material here and push on. But in the feed, Jacob, I see Acorn fall to Carbone, and that was that one team we saw rushing that western outskirts.
Yeah, might not have been able to get bolts. He probably stayed alive long enough for Acorn to get back, but you know as well as I do, when there's that many teams around a spot, the reboot comes, it's a rift from the sky. If you don't see it, the noise is there, so it's very hard to just stay alive in a map that is just so condensed like this Slurp Rush in Reload, but at least you're getting that chance to respawn as Veno and Reed seemingly lurking, or I should say just Veno trying to spot on over to Rapid and Cold. And then this is one of those roster changes we were talking about. Cold just kind of leaving Veno in the dust, playing with Rapid, his EWC qualified teammate. So you can kind of understand the decision-making behind the process, but you got to think, does Veno, these are teams above him on that leaderboard, is this a strategy, or is this him just trying to take advantage of players that might be distracted?
Yeah, something has to be happening here, right? When you start looking at, okay, how do we earn points? What's going to be the best strategy for us? Well, usually the go-to plan of attack is, all right, who's the nearest contested team, right? That isn't us. Who's going to be, you know, caught with their hands full, right? So I like the play there. Doesn't quite work out in their favor. Doesn't seem like, you know, they got what they were looking for, but it is what it is. Jumping on over to Jargo and Jace, who are off to a pretty phenomenal start, right? For a team like this, who's really just getting their reps in here at the highest level. 100+ points. The replay here, though. Peterbot, Poyo find Acorn, so no breaks for the Wicked there. Acorn falling once again.
Yeah, just luckily there is no real like storm surge in the Reload lobbies, because they would have been negative probably a million at this point. This Dragon going ahead, trying to break into the box. It is going to be a 2v1 though. He does get a knock onto Kanata, but teammate nowhere in sight, probably playing for that reboot just a little bit later on. And this is kind of the risk reward that I'm talking about. You see the loadout he just dropped. Big pots, minis, green sentinel pump. So he risked a lot there. Doesn't get the elimination. Yes, he is going to get back into the game, but it almost makes you wonder, was it worth it in the end?
I think so. I mean, right now it looks like we're seeing the bright side of the story, right? Kanata, Curve get to kind of stay in the game here. They have now controlled the vending machine as well, so they'll have plenty of time to catch their footing. I'm just looking at Bolts, though, who's like sitting nearby, trying to count his lucky stars that he hasn't been caught out just yet. But hold up, Peterbot, Boyo, from passive in game 2 to action-driven game number 3, I promise you, this is almost exactly what we saw in that first qualifier. It didn't go their way that time. They gave so much of the points back to the other teams up at the top, but here and now, they are looking exceptional, almost as if they're playing with no, you know, a chip on their shoulder because they're already qualified, right? So it does seem like we're seeing the other side of this top-tier duo in action right now.
Yeah, just kind of defend your drop, do what you want, If you go down, you will get rebooted, and a lot of teams aren't necessarily moving over towards Slurpee early on in the game. As it goes on, especially if the Zorn pushes players out of Slurpee, that's where Acorn went down. Sometimes you get rebooted, and Slurpee, one of the bigger POIs on the map. Usually, there is going to be scraps left over, so you can kind of see why they're doing it. It's OSID, Scare. They're one of the teams in the last qualifiers going in. They were one of the few with both of them having a 2.0 damage ratio. I kind of looked at them to be one of the teams kind of making a contest at the top of the leaderboard. I just hope that they learn from their mistakes there in qualifier 1. Does look like they're kind of faring well for the most part. They are in 7th place, I do believe, going into this game. They just have to pick up the pace a little bit more.
Yeah, surely coming out of qualifier 1, most teams seem to be playing much sharper. I mean, even here and now, still 18 teams standing right now as we're approaching really the end game here of the reload type format. And remember, at zone number 7, those zones will turn off, but look at how much respect players put around zone 5, right? They really treat it as if you don't have second chances here and now. Meanwhile, Higgs and Clicks, though, see Peterbot and crew off in the distance. They're thinking twice about sticking around for a fight. They want to get up out of here. Ager's Ritual, however, seem to have a different agenda on hand here. And it's also Booga who's here to fight. So Booga is seemingly back, but he is back for the wrong reasons right now. I'm not sure I want to fight Peterbot and Boyer right now.
Yeah, you talked about the slow pace from Peterbot from one game, speeding up here into this one. This is not a mistake I'd feel like you want to make if you're Booga going down early. Most of your first 2 game success came from not necessarily fighting these teams. Peterbot does find the elimination. Even though Reet is still alive, again, you got to ask the question. The zone is going to close. A lot of teams are not only around Slurpee Swap, but already in the direction where you need to be. So where are you going to get rebooted and find that loot? As Poyo has fallen, Peterbot trying to stay alive, forcing out the slurp juice early.
Gotta give respects to Dragon, man. He played so dynamic, you know, changing up the drop spot, landing somewhere else, finding eliminations on top tier duos. They are just a surprise element. I don't think anyone expected to be playing so well. And they're the, you know, the thorn in the side right now of every top team, it seems like, wherever they're at. Meanwhile, Booga has touched base again here. He's back down, and Ritual and Agers are now on the attack. They say, hey, we want a piece of this. And they find Booga again. And oh, I was going to say, are they going to try to hold him here till the zone 7 close? But of course not. He's going to go ahead and send himself back for a second there for the reboot.
Yeah, it did look like they were thinking about the idea, that little stutter step, the hesitation, but 40+ seconds left on the clock at the time. It's just not worth the rate, especially with still more and more players all around. Not only this POI, but again, in the zone already. Slurpee Slop is not too far of a distance to where they need to be. It's just a can Booga get a chance. 14 seconds. Booga just, yeah, let's say he just needs to force that elimination on himself. This is going to be his last chance. If Booga goes down here again, likely there will be no reboots left on the board, and Reet will have to play this one out by himself.
And somehow, Peterbot and Boy, you haven't even finished looting the drop. Mind you, look at how much excess loot was left over. This would have been perfect if Booga had a chance to go in and pick up some of that, but it just seems like none of it was left behind. Booga goes right back down. He's trying to find something here, but the points are just funneling towards Boya and Peterbot. He falls again there. Still has time to get back in the game, and I mean, there's just no reason for it either, right? This is not exactly how you wanted this to go down, but this is the hands he's been down as Boya falls here in a very pivotal time, too. Look at the clock there. Things are getting very, very close for comfort now, as Peterbot barely has HP, too.
That was very, very risky for King because Booga was on respawn, but that's the only way he could stop his teammate from getting farmed. They had about 40 seconds left before it turned off.
No.
Now Peterbot has gone down. He has a chance to get rebooted, but look at Poyo's in the sky. Can he even touch the ground? He makes it deep in the zone, but there is no HP until he finds the med mist smoke, but this is where it's going to hurt. He has to wait for Peterbot to get back, but what do you do from here?
Look at, you hear the sound effect going off. This is going to be the last reboot to come in, and it's Peterbot falling out the sky. Do keep in mind, we just talked about how much loot was left over there. Boyo has to put up a bit of a defense here just to buy them a little bit of room, and off they go. And this is almost feeling like revenge must be so sweet for the lobby here, where Peterbot and Boyo had full advantage, but it's King and Booga who will have the last laugh here and now as they find Peterbot and Boyo in game 3. Wow.
you know, Bugha was just letting him win the battle so he could win the entire thing here. Just a distraction. I'm not sure how that works out in their favor, but hey, when you have fate on your side, sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But you got to give it up to King. Such a young player, getting the moment to shine here and making the perfect play at the perfect time for it to really matter and give themselves a chance here. Fourth place coming into this game. You don't want to lose steam here and now.
It's almost, it really does feel like we're seeing, you know, the revolution, the evolution, even so, of the new guard stepping up here and now. I mean, my gosh, what a fun turn of events right there. Just keeping us on our toes. And this is what we talked about, right? That fast-paced action, that mid-game momentum slowing down there. You play fast, but you can't count out your pro players. Bugha, King, just showing, hey, we're top tier for a reason. Bugha is back. That's the narrative. That's the story right now. And that's going to put him up at third position now. 98 points there. Really and truly having a chance to fight now for possibly even first coming out of this round.
Yeah, Peterbot, Poyo with their struggles. I just saw Kanata go down to feed. Curve is by himself. Already first and second place here, facing major problems in this game. And this is opening up an opportunity for everybody else on that leaderboard. You don't want to let them start to build that cushion. You don't want to let Curve and Kanata start to catch fire, especially Peterbot and Poyo, because you know how they can get at a moment's notice. So if you're Clix and Higgs, they've gotten high ground early. You got to be able to survive. The spray is coming with the drum gun. Higgs does just a good job to be able to get out. Clix is there as well, but it's not over just yet. That looks like it might be Benno trying to press onto those builds, but the dust has settled here for a moment, and it looks like Higgs and Clix will get an extra chance here to survive.
Really think about it. They're playing very, very well. Want to see them both make it to the real end game as a duo. We have yet to see it, but both players have individually clutched up, right? And now it's Bugha's chance and time to clutch up here. So Bugha's kept it interesting. He's continued to go for high ground. That's probably a play that's out the window now. Sphinx also left as a solo now too. So a lot of these teams that we saw in game 2's end game that were really showing up and performing now kind of dismantled here in this third game here. Meanwhile, it's Clix and Higgs who have high ground, but Bugha's on the move now. No mats here, Jake.
I just need one elimination to try to change things. He's waiting for the zone, but it does bounce back in his favor. He had this shockwave out ready to use it, and now that he's out of builds, he just tries to do what he can to hide himself, give him the best chance for somebody to lose track of him and rotate on over. That's when he's going to try to peek, but he didn't count for the players down below. He gets dropped in the box, forced to use the shockwave, repositioned right into a med miss smoke. Again, Monster, I don't know what to say about the fate that Bugha's working with here. Gets a chance to pop both of those minis, and you see the other solo and Curve, he's not going through as much pressure right now. He is almost stress-free in comparison.
Yeah, and that's because he's got a little bit of mats to work with, and he is just ever lurking. But Bugha, much more problems on the horizon here as he's getting shot from below, shot from above, into the box. He goes chasing a player down. That could be a big opportunity, but no, doesn't quite get it. The wall opens up, and look at the decision-making here. Just so smart to go ahead and jump around there. Tries to get a little tap off the med miss, but there it is, another one. Oh my gosh, he's so close. Meanwhile, Curve falls in the low, so it's all up to Bugha now, just clutching up here. Top 15, more placement points into the box, but no, he falls instead there. And look, no one's got control of height here.
And we're in the 10th zone already, and barely any placement points have set in. Just 2 teams worth, so your work is not over just yet. As Higgs and Clix, they go from high ground to the backside of the zone, being pressured. Just 1 HP as Higgs does go down again. From back-to-back games, Clix now has a chance to clutch as a solo, prove that he is still one of the best solo players in the game. We talk about best players, Cold at the bottom of your screen. He is one of the more prolific flaggers the NA region has ever seen, but Clix picks up 1. He's unable to actually clean up the elimination just yet, waiting for the siphon, but he can't take advantage of the loot.
There it is. The siphon comes through, just caps him off just in time, but he's got no material here. Meanwhile, Cold on the bottom right finds 1. Can he find the second? Not quite just yet. And then Clix is still cooking as well. So everything is unfolding here. And now, first it was game 2, now it's game 3. Clix finds himself earning more and more points. In the end, it's a top 5 for him. And so is it for Cold as he falls in the final moments there.
Yeah, as the dust settles, there's only one duo standing. That's Javi and Virgo. Jace down below along with Jargu as his teammate is watching and waiting to see where he ends up. They're already near the top of the leaderboard. Virgo, Javi, they're going for the attack. Sphinx flies in the air and he does not get a chance to touch the ground. He gets sent back to the lobby. Now Virgo and Javi, 7 eliminations. They've reached 100+ points and they have a 2v1 situation. Jace kind of hiding, but he knows the situation he's in. 3 builds. He's trying to go ahead and get as much of these slurp barrels as possible because he knows this fight is going to be a hard fight to win against 2 full health players in Virgo and Javi.
Yeah, listen, he's already done his job. He's gone the distance. He's earned so many points, and he knows the players are back behind him. But one thing's for certain, you got to respect the competitive spirit as he tries to go toe-to-toe with Virgo and Javi, and they end up winning the game there, Jacob.
Yeah, they're a team that's just getting better and better as these weeks go on, proving it here again today with a win. But the third game is done. Zeke, break it down for us.
Guys, these games are continuing to get more and more chaotic. I cannot believe that end game. It just was so many people left as solos, have no inventories. We've got crazy pulls. We've got shockwaves going off left and right. And at the end of it all, Javi and Virgo, they're like, hey, look, we're the only duo left. We just got to slow play this and everyone else will fall around us. It's enough for a victory royale, Kelly. That's huge.
That is definitely going to be huge, definitely pushing them up the leaderboard right now. But honestly, you have to give credit where credit's due, just playing the low ground while you had so many incredible solo players just kind of playing patiently and waiting for the right moment to push for height right here. Didn't necessarily claim it, but honestly, they didn't need to at that point because it was all just going down to a potential heal off. Virgo and Javi not going to allow Jace to get that. But Blake, for Virgo and Javi, this has to feel good.
Oh, it 100% feels good, Kelly, because this is a duo who almost qualified for the EWC Finals last qualifier, and now they're out here in qualifier 2 putting on a show. And the interesting thing about that game is there was no high ground for basically the whole last 2 zones of that end game.
Dude, it's so crazy. Congratulations to the duo. They came into that game in 15th place. Where are they on the leaderboard? We'll find out after this break. Don't you go anywhere. We'll see you in a moment.
Teammates have his back. There's Nash. Gets the drop on the Marius. Stays alive. They're targeting Albania. 3v1.
Oh, what's up, Fortnite fam? I didn't see you there. Welcome back to the Reload Elite Series. My goodness gracious. Javi and Virgo get a victory royale in game number 3. Probably the most chaotic game we've seen so far. We do still have 5 games left to go, so nobody freak out. I'll do it for you. Let's talk about, take a look at this leaderboard and kind of see how things are shaking out after this. So a couple of interesting things. First off, Peterbot, Pollo, they fall out of the top 2. That means, once again, remember, we're looking at that top 2 to qualify. If, say, if Peterbot and Pollo or even a Cold and Rapid were to jump up into this top 2, those placements move down and that line will move down as well. Should be super easy to follow. Jace and Jargu right now, though, guys, they are in first place. They start the day with a 5th place, 1 Elim game, and then it's been 2 second place, 3 Elim games back to back. They're really aiming for this consistency right now.
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of seeing a little bit of what we saw from Acorn and Bolts during the first finals, but Jason Jargu doing a great job. Jargu actually playing with Kingaling during the first finals, splitting up, and definitely seemed to potentially pick the right choice here as far as a duo mate goes. Though, for me, Jace is definitely a bit of a question mark, Blake.
Yeah, for sure. And whenever tournaments like this are hosted and people see that they have an opportunity to qualify for a tournament across the world, this will bring out the best of the underrated people. And that's exactly what we're seeing with Jason Jargu. Jargu getting signed to Gen G with Kingaling as his old duo. They didn't perform too well, so they split up, and now Jargu's in first place, which is absolutely insane, Zeke.
Yeah, man. Look, at the end of the day, if we walk away in those qualifying spots, we're going EWC. That's all we care about, right? So we'll have to see if they can continue that incredible consistency. Curve and Kanata, what's interesting here is they're still holding second place, but in that last game, a 16th place with 4 elims. That's not a ton of points, right? So you got to think that moment where they kind of had this quote-unquote bad game, the rest of the lobby has an opportunity to try and catch up. I'm looking at Muzz and Sphinx right now. We're going, hey, hold on a minute. We can look to catch up. And even if we continue down, Peterbot and Pollo, right? Like, this last game was incredibly chaotic, Kelly, because I feel like even for like I don't know, 5 minutes, we're tuning into Peterbot, Pollo. They're running around. They're being eliminated. Peterbot is eliminated. Pollo's running around solo. Peterbot respawns. Pollo goes down. Peterbot solo goes down. Pollo's back. Like, it was just back and forth non-stop.
It was a very chaotic endgame, but I do want to go back to talk about Muzz and Sphinx. Obviously, Muzz and Sphinx coming off of a great Div Cup finals, so a lot of that momentum carrying on the Reload Elite Series. Sphinx here, though, having to pull out a solo clutch. Muzz, you have to believe, had just great comms going on for here because Sphinx did not look like he was a solo player. He played that so confidently. Unfortunately, did go down in 3rd place right there. But honestly, with the current performances that we're seeing, I can imagine in the second half of these games, Blake, that Muzz and Sphinx have a chance to jump into that top 2.
Woo, that's what I like to hear, because you know we love Muzz around these parts. All right, with that being said, game number 4 is ready. Let's come back into the action. Casters, over to you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We love to see Muzz, of course, shining here, and they almost like snuck up right the standings there. Sphinx just had high ground before we even knew it there, Jacob.
Yeah, I know, kind of think back, you know, the global championship qualifier of last year, Muzz versus Booga for that last spot. Booga going down early, Muzz stealing it away. Hey, we could see a repeat here today, the way both of these teams are playing, but honestly, it's still anyone's game. Jace and Jargu, top of the leaderboard, Kanata and Curve, Peterbot and Pollo have a little bit of inconsistency problem, but they know how to close out days as well.
Yeah, one thing's for certain, the standings do seem to be compressing. It almost looked like we were going to see the gap widening as the points were getting, you know, pretty far between Kanata and the rest of the lobby there, but however, falling in about 15th, 16th, right, for the big placements. Now things here in game number 4 are going to get really interesting.
This right here is officially the last game before the half and really plays a massive role of how you get to play the rest of the games out, because I mean, we already flew to this point in the entire tournament. The last half is going to go just as fast as Acorn and Bolts. We're seeing how the action is actually going down to start this one actually off. They're splitting the drop off this time around. In previous games around this time, you maybe saw one player go down, trade it off, split their other ways, but Acorn and Bolts, I think, are more than prepared for it this time around.
Yeah, people are really sticking to their guns here, trying to keep the lights on.
wanting something, and I need to move.
Driving on that wave that serves to better wood. Surf. To become movie stars if we only could. We're going out west to make our dreams come true.
Game 4 right now, and it's almost like Bobby and Virgo may have even missed the game out. They're in 6th place coming into this one. 1st and 10th is all I really see. I'll try to get that confirmed, but Clicks and Higgs trying to see. Usually it's Higgs going out for the eliminations, but hey, when opportunities like that present themselves, you're going to take it. Even Josh and Iamzo, the uncontested boom and base, they jump onto Higgs. He was the one for the team just talking about getting aggressive, and now they're going to go ahead and get that grenade launcher that most teams use to pick up a few more eliminations as well.
I guess I spoke a little too soon for our good friend Higgs there, as he goes off on that mission and gets sent right back to the sky for his reboot here. But no harm, no foul. Got to try to earn your points, of course. He's already done a little something here, as Clicks has a single Elam too. But jumping with Reet and Veno here. Pretty solid performance thus far. And Reet right through the wall there. Catches Jace completely off guard. Down he falls. So just a little reminder to everyone that, hey man, the big dogs are still here to fight. Meanwhile, Peterbot Pollo leave their drop, come quick down south here, and once again are giving Agers and Rituals such a tough time. But Rituals got something for Peterbot, and that's a set of 3 points in his pocket there as he snatches it up. Well played for them there, just really dominating the battle for a moment there.
Wow, you know that shot? I think it was Agers hit. That wasn't a Sentinel pump. That wasn't a regular pump. He hit him with a hip fire hunting rifle shot to drop the shields down. And it just goes to show the limits these players will go to put themselves in a tough position as Cold. Oh, the one pump saving the day. That was a good shot by Evan, but unfortunately enough, not going to be enough damage to take down Cold. And that's honestly, looking at them and how they got first place in the first qualifier, it was the contested fight at Steamy Stacks. They were able to farm Elam after Elam, but I believe it's just like a whole different caliber of team. Bugha and King are not going to be able, or not in general, going to give up any free eliminations here.
Yeah, you can't give anyone the inch. They'll take the mile in this type of setting here and now. And talking about Jace once again, he finds himself on the wrong side of the barrel there. Ace checking into Bugha's duo. Meanwhile, Reet's got high ground. Veno's on the low ground. I want to say they've had success off the early game, but it has been a little bit of a struggle as they've clashed against Acorn, Bolts, Carbone before that. Acorn and Bolts seem to be defending really well here.
See, I'm seeing the feed right there, what Acorn was kind of going for. Elam onto Dragon. And that's actually good because Bolt's taking most of the focus and the damage. You got to imagine if they tagged up Acorn going for that elimination, they could have definitely turned the tables a little bit as Acorn building up, firing back, almost dropping the entirety of the shields from Veno down. And he sees himself getting pushed by Reet and immediately starts to disengage. He doesn't want to take an unnecessary fight, especially with how difficult these last few games have been off spawn.
This little highlight right there just to give you guys things in a summary. In a nutshell, there you have it. Acorn Bolts continuing to frag and find eliminations here. That's really going to pad up the statings, right? We need that as well. Jumping back with Pollo and Peterbot at the Slurpy Swamp. So they were taken out a little early. We've seen this consistent trend of them kind of stashing their loot up top. Makes me wonder if anyone has figured out that continues to do this, right? Come on in and take a little bit of what they worked for. But for now, things are kind of settling here as the clock ticks on. Clicks Higgs on the outsides, getting shot at by a couple teams there. Then you have Kanata and Curve, right? Who were up in first place. They felt that podium. They were standing on it for quite some time, and down they slip a little bit here.
Yeah, and they're just kind of making that quick rotation. Form Fort Crumpet, southwest on the map as Iamzo finds himself in the situation. Or that's Jace again. I feel bad because it's been a few. There's always at least one player per game that, you know, just gets put in the blender, getting eliminated off of spawn. They try to drop, and then a whole nother team gets the elimination. They try it again, choose a different spot, and then a whole nother team gets the elimination. And that's kind of the intricacies that go down in Reload. The later you go down in these games, whether if it's third, fourth, or fifth zone, it's going to be that much harder to actually not only get back up in the game, but get a loadout that's actually worth fighting for for at the end of the day. And that's why it's very, very crucial, even though sometimes you do send your uncontested player out to get eliminations, that you do have that loot stash that we saw Peterbot and Poyo have at the top. So if he did go down, it would take him no time at all getting back up to tip-top shape.
Yeah, gotta be careful there, Jacob. Get him farmed, right? No one wants to be in that position. And talking about Cell, we got the picture on the side here showing us that Jace is looking to strike back finally now. Seems like they've got their footing here. He's lurking and sneaking his way back in and tracking someone deep back into the storm. And there it is. Finally, Jace gets a number on the board there. Give him some respect as he demands it here. But they have to be careful. There is still 2 teams lurking here at the Steamy Stacks. For Jason Jargle as well, I don't even think they've ever touched kind of foot in the Steamy Stacks area this late, right? Would you expect a Cold and Rapid to be here? I don't think so, let alone Dragon and his duo, who gave this spot up and then came back for it, right? So it's a very dangerous spot to be in right now.
Yeah, especially since I think Hold and Rapid are one of the duos in this lobby that they realize, hey, we're not playing as good as we probably should in this situation. And they know how to flip that switch. They know how to get the eliminations because they know the easiest way to close the gap between them and everybody else at the top of the leaderboard is through those eliminations. And it does look like Evan, he got eliminated by Jace, fresh off the reboot. He goes into enemy territory, gets chased down by Cold as he cleans up that elimination. And HP's no worry. Every elim, you do get the siphons. That just means Cold and Rapid could stay here longer and longer with each and every one they get.
Yeah, and the zone revealed itself. It's pulling this way, and you know, right there, just the map knowledge from Cold. He's got the spot on lock. He knew exactly where to cut off. Evan there, who was on the run. Meanwhile, Yamzo and Josh, though, just not too far from their side of the safe zone. Looking pretty good so far. 3 elims, max material, more or less. Great loadout here in the hands of Yamzo and Josh, and not really a soul in sight to give him any pressure here. And they're just going to be buying their time to play for endgame. Bugha, King on the other side. Complete different story. They're pushing that team. Evan right back here and his dual Carbone. So they haven't really caught a break, right? King and Bugha are just another one of the teams now looking to push them.
Yeah, this is Carbone. They do have that grenade launcher, so it did look like they wanted to go on a chase with those shockwaves, but they stopped. They didn't want to take any unnecessary damage with those explosions and waste any builds. They did kind of melt through their wood, but you see the surrounding land. That's easy to kind of refarm that. So kind of slow and steady was where they found that early game success in game number 1, in game number 2, where they kind of went around the outskirts. They avoided a lot of the fights where they didn't spend materials, they didn't spend resources, so that they were able to take high ground later on in these games. Acorn and Bolts, though, 4 eliminations, a much better early game for them than the last 2, being surprise contested, being caught off guard. They're finally catching their footing, and they just need it to pay off here in this game specifically.
Yeah, definitely. What we're seeing from here is just progress, right? These early eliminations, obviously giving them that little bit of padding that they need, but Acorn and Bolts being such a favorite, they're coming up short on the placement points. So this game here and now, see what they can make happen. As we talk about Evans, been the highlight right now. He's been having a bit of a hard time, but I think the dust is settling here. Jacob is got some room to play with. He's walking around. He's the guy alive, right? Maybe he'll be able to climb his way back into the conversation, into a fighting stance, if you will. Clicks and Higgs on the other side, very much ready for this end game. Zone's going to pull far east here and north. So they're positioned very well. One of the earlier ones for duos here to take a bit of high ground and a bit of this real estate. So yeah, most of the lobby's outside.
Yeah, and since it is 6 zone, you can kind of think and look at their position. They're high up on the mountain. Nobody's across from them. They could go ahead and try to get center, but it's 6 zone. If you shockwave, if you crash pad, if you make that risk to leave your box and you get beamed, it is certainly not worth it. And that's why you're seeing more and more teams positioned. Just be happy to get on the edge, whether if they're up above on a mountain or just down below here on the riverside. Sometimes you just got to take what you can get. 147 points, though, not bad for Kanata and Curve. They did lose their first place spot on the leaderboard. I just hope they didn't lose their confidence here, because so far to play this one out, they've just been out of their minds playing for high ground. Most of the times it's working out for them. They do have shockwaves. They have the men miss smoke. So if they do not pull zone, they still have a lot to work with.
A lot at play here. A lot on the line, too. Jumping over to the other side, though, you can see much different kind of dynamic here. Very quiet for those that are inside the zone, and if you're outside of it, I mean, the action is never ending right now as the storm is slowly looking to begin creeping in here. And then, of course, those reboots are going to be turning off here shortly. I like the position we see from Veno and Reap, but they just seemingly can't get far away from Clicks and company there. But in the feed, Peterbot falls here. What's going on now? And the timer is on. So Pollo is once again by himself here and forced to med miss this early too. And look at this, not a lot of shields either. Mulberry Fizz, very crucial. Of course, rotations as well. Peterbot tries to land in. Seems like he might have gotten caught there. What just happened there? They find Evan. Some pressure from another team is going to give them the elimination there. But Peterbot gets caught, and Pollo was ready to catch him. You love to see it.
Yeah, at least that elimination on Evan is huge because he gets some sort of a loadout, the bare minimum, instead of kind of being stuck with a gray AR. That's all you really get when you do get rebooted out of the sky. And then 100 match, which isn't much. So at least they're getting something here. But we got a max pull all across the map. And there was the gift. A gift from what you would think like Nemesis's rivals, Clicks versus Peterbot. They get the elimination, they get the points, but Peterbot and Pollo do get the loot. Talk about a max pull over towards the top of Boom and Base. Depending on if it's over that cliff into open water, you got to start to think if it pulls back up, if it pulls towards the south of Boom and Base, I got to have a shockwave. I got to have a crash pad, something that I can easily gain elevation so I don't have to waste materials.
Got to be cautious with the material count here and now. And no, wait a second. As Jargle's trying to rotate, he gets just wiped out the sky there and left on the edge of zone to rot. And down and out he goes. Jace is going to have to play this one out himself. And listen, Jace has got to get his mind right. He was farmed so heavily in the early game. His loadout is definitely reflecting a tough start for him. But there's too much on the line here and now as he's got 159 points. Just imagine being so positioned well and then having this tough game 4 in the middle of your lobby. But as we bring our focus to Veno, Veno's got the high ground here. Seems like he's lost in the process, but he's not afraid to play for high ground now. You got to respect it.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate zone pulls away. Sometimes when you're on high ground, teams don't look up. They don't see that you're a solo up above, almost making yourself look bigger than you actually are. But he's going to be exposed here as a solo as he uses the shockwave to change his position on the other side of the map. And you're seeing this is like a pseudo double pump. The hunting rifle accurate with the hip fire. He does have the sentinel pump as well. So if he can get that first shot or second shot off with the hunting rifle, he can easily pull up some downs here. It's Cold, Rapid trying to continue their success. They got 4 eliminations here, 115 points. This is the time if you're Cold and Rapid to catch fire.
Yeah, definitely. And look at this. Cooper goes for high ground too. So someone's making a take for it. And Curly's there, of course, to back him up now. But I'm seeing that name Kanata in curve. Not too far off. Opting to play the mid-ground layer now. So let's see if they keep it interesting. Top 15 now as placement points are going to start being dished out heavily here in the coming moments. And it's all going to come to an end here as it's going straight over the water. It couldn't be more difficult as far as an end game's concerned here.
Yeah, but it does bounce back. A roller coaster is what these players are going to go through as Bolts and Acorn. They've been going through that roller coaster with their contested drop. Now they go down. Ritual just getting overzealous, trying to go for the loot, and he gets caught off guard. That's a big loss here for Agers trying to make a clutch play happen, especially since we're going up back towards the mountain. He makes it there with a crash pad. Even he's running into King. He is running into Booga all along the way.
Iggs, Clicks, though, finally standing side by side here. Coming into the final moments, we've rarely seen them both survive this far. They've had harder and harder times, right? Making it to this end game together. Kanata on the other side alongside Curve, still making plays here, playing the mid ground. Not really ultimate low just yet, so a lot of options for him to make a move as well. But let's bring our focus back to Higgs here. He finds a fight on the outside of the storm, doesn't quite get the elimination. Back in they go for the rotate. Ultimate low, they opt in for.
That's just disastrous right there. Yeah, Higgs making the wrong decision to drop towards that ultimate low ground, loses his teammate for it. But last time we seen him in a clutch position, he ended up 4th place on the leaderboard. Kanata and Herb, they're trying to take that 1st place back, where they're getting pressured all around. They're inside of the med mist smoke, trying to dodge any damage that is being put out to them. And they reposition themselves down below, even changing layers, doing anything it takes just to stay alive. But a battle on the high ground, solo versus solo, Cooper versus Veno. I don't know where Curly's at, but maybe he got lost all along the way. Veno's just been working on that high ground. Perfectly played here, but running out of builds, he's forced to drop down low into all that chaos.
Definitely lost in the sauce there. Cooper looking to pressure down onto Veno. He doesn't want to quite give it up just yet. Higgs finally falls there, just outside of the top 10, not quite getting the big placement points, but Cooper is by himself here. No elims just yet, but a top 10 is going to be happy about that. Meanwhile, Veno starting to fizzle out here. No more material to work with. He has to go for it. He finds Taki there inside the box. Nice little job for him. Just clutching up, showing us why he is a top tier competitor. Up top though, Cooper trying to make sure he's got something to work with. Meanwhile, Veno finds the full finish. There goes the refresh he needed, and he's back in this game like he never left. And he's got some unfinished business with Cooper. There goes the shockwave to send him fly, but no, doesn't quite catch himself there.
Yeah, Cooper's able to buy some extra time with that med miss smoke, but the double pump from Veno, but he's shockwaves up again. He's the full target.
Oh.
He goes down. That's a decision he's soon going to regret. Josh and Iamzo now being the ones that deal most of that damage. Cooper was the one that stole away the elimination. 2v2v1 situation, rapid and cold. They didn't get a win in qualifier 1. This is how you pick up the pace and catch up to change the narrative in your favor, but he's still running into Speaks. That's the solo down below. They make quick work of that elimination, but they still got a full and hungry duo up above. Josh and Iamzo, they have yet to claim their spot in the EWC finals. They need these extra points to try to take over the first place. Iamzo's going to drop down low, try to get the side angle. Shockwave coming out from Josh, sends rapid packing. Big win from Josh and Iamzo. That has rejuvenated them in this series.
Talk about a play right there. The shockwave, boom, and it's over. He hits the shot. The tracking was perfect. In game 4 now, Z comes to a close.
We went out over open water for a little bit, man. Zoe and Josh coming out big. They were in 11th place with 74 points. And now a victory royale with 9 elims. Kelly, like they said, this is a rejuvenation, right? These guys have now, they're firing on all cylinders. This is the game they needed to get back in it.
Yeah, they did a smart job sticking to the low and mid ground, making sure that not only were they going for placements, but they were also going for those eliminations. We saw our first and second place team during our first finals that you need to be able to do both. And that's exactly what Josh and Iamzo did in this game. But what I love from this duo right here is that they heard Veno constantly launching himself up, going for those sprays onto height, and they just waited for one more launch. You could see them tracing Veno as he's launching in the air. I love that, just waiting for the audio cue for that final shockwave before they can spray him out. Iamzo and Josh played that so smart.
Yeah, and that is what a textbook endgame looks like. They took their time. They were playing the mid ground until the very end when they knew they could look up, like Kelly just said, and take the high ground. But I just want to highlight this shockwave play right here. Rapid gets shockwave in the zone, and Josh just hits the craziest flick onto him. Insane gameplay.
Oh man, guys, that's game 4. We're now at the halfway point of the competition with 4 games left to go. After this short break, we'll come back, break down the leaderboard, and talk more about what we can expect in the second half. Stay tuned.
Time is back.